I work at a tech company downtown, as you all heard, and for the most part, everyone there seems to get along really well. But every day at lunch, we still kind of go back into high school mode, and we divide into two groups, the geeks and the jocks. So half the lunchroom's talking about the future of Bitcoin, the other half is scarfing down their lunch fast so they can make it to spin class. Every once in a while, though, there's someone who's this brave interloper, and they go and they try to sit down at the other table, only to realize when they get there, they have no idea what to say. Well, I'm on the marketing team. I never know where to sit for lunch, and this isn't something unusual to stack. In fact, in college, I had the same problem. Yes, I was in a sorority, but I was also in the marching band. In fact, I kind of feel like my entire life has been me stuck between being one of the cool kids and one of the nerds. But as a result of this, I like to think I've really kind of learned how to talk to, well, just about anyone. And yes, this sometimes involves a lot of awkward conversations. But along the way, I've picked up a few pieces of advice that are maybe a little bit like conversation science. I wanted to share them with you to use at Velocity and beyond. So rule number 1 is break the script. Everybody knows that hi, how are you really means hi, I'm too busy to talk to you. So cut the small talk. That's why when I'm at a bar and someone starts it with me, I just turn it back to them and I say, hey, if you had to choose, what would your murder weapon of choice be? Yes, this is bizarre, but what it does is it gets someone answering a question they haven't already said 10 times before. It gets them storytelling. A recent TED Talk actually suggested this, that you ask people not just for answers to questions, but for stories. It makes the conversation a lot more interesting, and you're engaged too. The best part about this is that you can actually practice it in your daily life with complete strangers. My favorite place to practice is when I'm stuck in line. So if any of you ever go to Chipotle for lunch, when else are you going to get 10 minutes of time to talk to someone that you're never going to see again? This is a perfect place to try to practice these conversations, which moves us into rule number 2 for a good conversation: shift your viewpoint. Is it a vase? Is it two faces? You know, you can look around this room here and think there are 150 people, and I only know the 2 people I came with, and that's really scary. But when I look around a room like this, I think, wow, there are 150 people here. And if I only get to talk to everyone and learn one thing, that's 150 new things I can learn. And you're probably thinking, yeah, but it's scary to start those conversations. But here's the truth. Most people want to engage in conversation. They're just assume no one else wants to talk to them, so they don't do it. It's this idea called pluralistic ignorance. But if you push that aside, you start to realize, like, I can actually talk to anybody and it's going to be okay. Then, like, the world becomes your conversation oyster, right? You can do anything, like the Grinch, growing your heart. The best way to do this, though, is to actually engage with the world around you and not be glued to your iPhone. Because how are you going to start a conversation with someone if you're not even making eye contact with them? That's a really bad way to start. Put the devices away and start that conversation. Then you can get into rule number 3, once you're talking to someone, which is look for their inner nerd. Yes, whether it's marching band or you like My Little Ponies, everyone has something really nerdy about them, and when you pull it out of conversation, that's when you get people really starting to sparkle, because they're talking about the thing they love the most. And you're thinking, oh my God, I had no idea you built a boat made out of wine corks or took a year off to travel the world. Tell me what that's like. And now you actually are enjoying that conversation. You get into this mode kind of called like conversation cruising, right? You're on the road, you're really gelling, you're having a good time. You probably get there with your best friends all the time, but you can actually get there with total strangers too if you're asking the right questions in the right way. So then the next time you look around that scary room full of people, it doesn't look so anonymous anymore. You start to place some faces and stories with all those names. So these are some 3 tips. You can use them anywhere you want, here at Velocity, when you're back at home, when you're in the office. But to recap, again, they are number 1, break the script. Ask interesting questions. You'll hear interesting stories. Number 2, shift your viewpoint. People aren't that scary after all. And then number 3, look for their inner nerd. So whether or not you get free lunch at your office like we do, I hope when you're back in there on Monday, you sit at the other table, because you never know where a good conversation will lead. Thank you.